Hey, good morning, Metropolis. It's now 5 after the hour of 6 a.m. in the big monster city.
Come on! Let's get pumped!
Not drinking any fucking Merlot! What can I say? The camera loves me.
Shall we begin?
After you, Junior.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Multiplex Lodges. I'm your host, Kaleb Boatman, and today we got a fun topic for you, talking about action heroes. On the panel, we've got Mr. Brooklyn Vale.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Typically, people will kind of throw in a.
You just cut off there. Sorry.
Oh, fair.
I didn't hear the question, so I was like, oh, okay.
There wasn't really a question. It was like, we've got Mr. Brooklyn Vale, and then typically people, would throw in a thing. Don't talk, Brooklyn.
But yeah, no, I'm doing good. I'm excited. There's one movie in particular that I'm really excited to kind of rant about, rather. So, yeah.
Fair. Okay, now let's try this again. We have Mr. Payson Johnson.
Yeah, thank you, Boatman. I talked about it earlier on the stream. Allergies are kind of kicking my ass right now, but it's always fun. I'm always happy to talk about movies.
That's fair. And we have Jack.
Yes, hello, hi. I'm just happy to be here again. I always enjoy coming on the show, and I feel like I've got a great kind of left field pick for the topic tonight, so it's going to be fun.
And Brandon Devlin.
Hello, guys. I logged it, but I'm always happy and fun to be here. I think like everybody else. So, yay! Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Well, I think we'll get started with the first part of the week, which is always your favorite movie you logged this week. Payson, we'll start off with you.
Yeah, I watched a lot of really, really good stuff, but at the same time, I'm not sure how much of it I'm allowed to talk about. So, screw it. I'm going to kick off. New release just came out, John Wick Chapter 4. Movie kicks so much ass, and I have loved every John Wick movie up to this point. I think this one is probably my favorite. It feels like the biggest one. It's the longest one in terms of runtime, but weirdly, even with that runtime, it feels like the most well-paced one. Like, each John Wick movie up to this point has a different point where I feel like it kind of drags through and loses a little steam. This one doesn't, which for a 3-hour action movie is so impressive. I think the world building and how it makes you understand the rules of this world, I think, is excellent. I love the new characters. Donnie Yen is so good as the new, he's not the main villain, but he's John's main rival, and I think for the first time in this franchise, really feels like the equal to John Wick in terms of being a killer. I think Bill Skarsgård is excellent as the villain. I think the action set pieces, there are 3 or 4 set pieces that I think are just incredible. It makes me want to start taking up nunchuck lessons. And if I can recommend any single person, if I can recommend a movie for you all to watch before you watch this movie, watch Stanley Kubrick's Barry Lyndon. You will thank me after, because something happens in this movie that if you've seen Barry Lyndon, you'll be like, oh, I know what's about to happen. So, yeah.
Yeah, I dug the heck out of this one. I just got back from seeing it an hour ago. And this one freaking rules. This is probably my favorite of the franchise. It feels like the culmination of everything that the franchise has done well, and just basically cutting out all the fat, which is a weird thing to say about a 3-hour movie. But I don't think a second's wasted, despite the fact that this is the longest one. So yeah, kudos to them, because this one rules. Also, 2 great needle drops in this movie, almost back to back. Come on, Brooklyn, have you seen Chapter 4 yet?
No, but you have me at needle drops. I want to check it out now for that reason.
I'll be watching it tomorrow with my dad and maybe the rest of my family. We'll see.
Nice. And Brennan?
Oh, yes. I saw it yesterday. That was my favorite of the week, too. So much fun. Insane. Yeah, I got no other words except when everybody else has said it's amazing. Jack's gonna love it.
That is fair. That is fair. Well, thank you, Brandon. We'll go over now. Brooklyn, what's your pick for your favorite movie along this week?
Well, I had to pay up some Oscar bets for the Oscars, and the movie that I was given was actually the same year that I was born, 1993's The Fugitive, the great Harrison Ford one. I like the overall grandeur of it, and I think just the performance in it. Like there are times in this where it kind of feels very much like a stage production, and just of how like Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones in particular are really like kind of delivering their lines and whatnot. I think the character of Dr. Richard Kimball is really fucking cool. Obviously, you get to like the hospital scene and just seeing that he, despite being chased by the FBI, that he still wants to do good and trying to stretch boundaries, I guess, to do ultimately what's right. Also, I love Harrison Ford being chased, just the facial expression that he gives, because it's the same one that he gives for the entire scene, and it's just like it's just that constant, just like, oh shit. There's never really it's more like damn it, as opposed to like a real kind of like he's like truly kind of fearful of Tommy Lee Jones, more kind of like annoyed. But yeah, I think it's just a really cool movie.
Mm-hmm. I kind of describe The Fugitive the same way I describe Beverly Hills Cop, which is they're hamburger movies. They're very they're nothing fancy. It's a really good hamburger. And that's the way I feel about that. And not like
that's good. That's good.
Bowman, I love you. That was awesome.
No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally get it.
It's a hamburger, it's not some fancy. It's not like a Red Robin burger. It's just a regular, good old hamburger. That's how I feel about it. Anyway, Payson saved me.
Yeah, no, I love The Fugitive. I think I watched this last year when I thought someone was going to put it on the wheel for me in terms of trivia, and they didn't. But I'm happy this movie was excellent because I still enjoyed my time. Yeah, I think it's just an awesome just chase movie of just watching Harrison Ford on the run and trying to keep on gaining clues and figuring out like more corruption about what's going on in the police system and who killed his wife. I think is excellent. Tommy Lee Jones man doesn't care. He literally says it. He does not care. This is it's just one of those great 90s thrillers of the time. I get the hamburger comparison. No stink to be found. Great movie.
Jack?
Yeah, this is a fantastic movie. I haven't seen it since about 2019, but it's due for a rewatch for me. Tommy Lee Jones is fantastic. Harrison Ford's great. And Payson alluded to the line earlier, but one of my favorite line reads in all of the 90s. It's fantastic.
That is fair. Brandon?
Don't have a lot to add to what everybody said. It's been about 10 years since I've seen that movie. Great movie. Just quintessential 90s action film for me. Great. Awesome.
That's
Sorry.
fair. No, you're good. So now we go over to me. I'm going with a film from the director Mike Leigh. And I'm going with what is my favorite of the films of his I have watched so far. I'm going with Secrets and Lies. And for people who don't know Mike Leigh's style, he pretty much makes every movie the same way, which is he has a basic story idea, and then he basically spends months with actors and actresses rehearsing this stuff until essentially they get so into character that then they perform it, and then he writes the script based on that. So these movies are basically improvised. They're created by the actors themselves. And the plot of this one is essentially you have a British black woman who is her adopted mother dies, and she goes searching for her birth mother, gave her up for adoption, and it's revealed that it's actually a white woman. And she comes back into her life, and there's a lot of tension, and it's really interesting. It's hard to get into too much without kind of getting into spoilers because there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, secrets and lies revealed. But Brenda Blethyn plays the mother, and she is phenomenal. She was nominated for an Oscar for this, and frankly, I would say she should have won if it weren't for Frances McDormand being this year. Marianne Jean-Baptiste played the black woman, and she was nominated for supporting actress, and she's great here too. So, fantastic film. Highly recommend. Doesn't quite get enough attention by the fact it was nominated for Best Picture and a lot of other things. Brooklyn, have you seen this?
No, but you have me sold on the writing concept of it. I'm always a sucker for improv as a lover of Whose Line Is It Anyway? So
that's fair. Clayton?
I have not, but is Mike Lee the dramatic Judd Apatow? Genuinely.
I call him the dramatic Christopher Guest.
Fair.
Okay.
Brandon?
Never seen this one, Boatman, but I'm sold. I'm gonna check it out.
That's fair. And Jack, I'm also gonna guess you haven't seen it.
I've heard of it. I hadn't. I didn't know anything about it, but you've sold me on it, and I like the dramatic Christopher Guest.
That is fair. Yeah, no, Judd Apatow will just let his actors improv with no structure, whereas Christopher Guest, he keeps the story moving. Anyway, Jack, over to you. What's your favorite movie you love this week?
Boatman, you can start typing it out.
Heck yeah!
Boatman and I did a little bit of a exchange here, and yeah, defending your life is fantastic. Albert Brooks. I don't know if I've seen an Albert Brooks movie other than Finding Nemo and maybe a handful of others from a few years back. After seeing this, I am sold on him as a writer and director. He's got such a he has the perfect dry sense of humor that I really love. There's some really great lines in this movie, some really great exchanges. As soon as the scene in the comedy club was happening, I messaged Boatman, long coma art. That whole conversation is just so good. I love everything about this movie. Meryl Streep is so good. Albert Brooks is great. I knew the vague concept of it, and I had heard Boatman many a time on this show or other shows or just in general conversation talk about this movie. And so because of that, I bought the Criterion Blu-ray and I finally had a chance to watch it. And it was absolutely worth it. Boatman, you picked a really good one, and I can't wait to watch Modern Romance and the rest of his directed works.
Heck yeah. Look, everybody knows. He's my boy. He's my boy. And this is my favorite of his films. This is just one of the most delightful movies ever made. I love it with all my heart. Brooklyn, have you seen this?
No, but I remember the year 2019, and you were in the New British Empire, and you were in Warzone at the time, and you said, Brooklyn, I want to introduce this new strength that I haven't used yet, and it's Albert Brooks. I just remember that day and looking at where we are now and where Albert Brooks has kind of grown in the community. So it's just nice to be at the start.
I've definitely just kind of force-fed this community Albert Brooks.
Yeah, like Jack, I watched this movie based on Boat's recommendation, but I watched it before I got into it. Was right around the time I got into the community, and I wanted to impress Boatman. I'm not sure if I've ever told you that, but I wanted to get in good terms with you. So yeah, I also bought the Criterion Blu-ray the first day it came out, and I loved it. No, this movie is incredible. It's such a delightful look at the afterlife. The story of Brooks and Streep's character falling in love is really sweet. I think Rip Torn is so funny as the lawyer, just explaining how this world works. It's probably my second favorite Albert Brooks directed movie. I personally prefer Modern Romance a little bit more, but yeah, Defending Your Life is excellent.
For you, Modern Romance makes sense. Jack, and it's a completely valid pick. Jack?
This was my pick.
That was his pick.
Oh, duh.
It's me. Right. It's all right.
Brandon.
Caleb, I am so sorry. Please don't fire me off the show. I have never seen it.
Oh, whoops. My finger slipped. I'm kidding.
Gotta love that Criterion collection, though. They've got everything on there.
Mhm.
I am definitely gonna check it out because you all sold me on that. I like Albert Brooks. I love modern romance. Just haven't seen this one, so I'm definitely checking it out.
Brandon, you got to remember, Boatman's not your boss. You don't have to impress him.
Yeah, Payson, I has to.
Got it. All right, I'll keep that in mind.
Still watch it, please. Anyway, Brandon, we'll stick with you. What's your favorite movie?
I feel like mine is so generic compared to everybody else's, but besides John Wick Chapter 4, which Payson said, my favorite was the OG Mission Impossible from 1996. There's something so interesting about that movie. First of all, it's directed by Brian De Palma, so it feels different than all the other Mission Impossibles, but it's just, that's how it all started. We're 7 movies in right now, I think, or there's going to be 7 this summer. And just how it all started, seeing the beginning of Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt, Henry Czerny as can't remember the character's name.
Clitridge.
Sorry, John Voight as
Phelps.
As Phelps. Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're
I'm
good.
blanking here. Anyways, the ensemble cast was amazing in that film. The action was great. Everything felt very, very real and very, very practical. Something that has actually continued on through the franchise. So I don't know. I had a good time with it. I forgot how much I enjoyed it until I rewatched it.
Yeah, that is valid. I like this one a lot. This one gets a lot of flack, I feel like, compared to the other ones lately. Like, it didn't at the time, but now I feel like with all the sequels, a lot of people talk down on this one. I don't get it. I think this one rules. This has, like you said, I agree with you completely, Brandon. The De Palma of it all gives this one a very different tone. And I really like what it's going for. It's a little bit more thriller. It's probably the most, like, spy heavy out of all of them. Like, the later ones are more action movies, and of course the third act's an action movie, but really this probably looks like true, like, spy of it all. And I think this one's really fun. I like this one a lot. Brooklyn?
I haven't seen this. I haven't seen the older ones yet. I've only seen like Ghost Protocol and the other ones. But
Mason?
Same boat as Brooklyn.
Oh, I didn't know.
Oh, wow.
Jack.
I feel like I would like this one.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do like this movie. It's my 5th out of 6, almost by default, because I adore 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, those are some of my favorite action movies. Don't get me wrong, this movie's still fantastic. It's still a 4-star film, bordering on 4.5, but it just happens to be the 5 out of 6. It's just it's in such great company. Great film, and that Langley heist scene is phenomenal.
Oh yeah,
chef's kiss. Anyway, now we move over to the other side of the coin. Your least favorite movie log this week. So Payson, we'll start back up with you.
I'd like to say there's a movie worse than this I could talk about, but I'm not going to talk about that one for obvious reasons. The movie I'm going to talk about is one I don't hate. I honestly kind of liked, but I can't deny that it's super dated. That is 1979's The Warriors. The Warriors, fairly iconic movie. To be clear, I gave it this movie 3 stars because I think the main plus I do enjoy is I like, honestly, weirdly, how dated it does kind of feel. It definitely feels like a product of its time with just the acting style and the directing style. But if I'm being honest, I just don't think the characters, as in the Warriors themselves, are that interesting. Some of the gangs, I think, are a little bit more interesting, but still, like, not incredibly. The acting's bad. Like, I'll be honest, like, there are some scenes that, like, you hear hyped for, like, a long time, and then you watch and you're like, why was that hyped? The Warriors come out and play scene is so stupid in context. Like, genuinely, like, all you have is this guy just in his car with the bottles, just clanging, just looking this guy dead in the eye. It's like, go and kill him. Like, stop clanging your bottles. Just go kill the guy. You're looking right at him. Which I just, it's still an enjoyable movie. It's short, which I think is a lot of fun. But yeah, product of its time, not incredible.
Yeah, I've never seen this one. Brooklyn, you ever see this?
No.
Jack?
Haven't gotten to it yet. No.
Brandon?
I have actually. It's funny, when I was a kid, I used to get the Warriors and the Outsiders mixed up, just as a kid, because I didn't know the difference. They are two very different movies. The Outsiders is infinitely better than the Warriors, and somehow they made a movie out of the Warriors movie, or made a video game out of the Warriors movie. Don't know how, don't know why. Never played it, but the movie is it's okay. It's I think it's overrated, to be honest.
Fair enough. Well, now Brooklyn, over to you. What's your least favorite movie log this week?
Yeah, so I was brushing up on some Pixar and some recent stuff. Lightyear is just a very meh movie. I'm frustrated with this a little bit. It's good at it's good at times. Like, I think the animation style is really cool. Like, especially like there's a scene where Buzz is flying up, and even though it's a movie, they're still kind of animated as a toy. So like his shell kind of like falls in in a different direction to where he is, and I think that's cool. Socks as a character, that's a freezing cold take at this point, but I think he's the character. He's the best character of the movie.
Freezing cold take.
Yeah, where he's a lovable companion, but also mixes in being a cat. But the thing I'm frustrated with about this movie is that it goes for these vague kid plot sort of things at times with the crystal and how it fuels the jet or whatever, and then when they get to the Zurg reveal, it's like, hey, let's go Christopher Nolan and go kind of complex. And I remember whenever they talk about this movie and that this is supposed to be what the kids were watching so that they would pick up the Buzz Lightyear action figures. I don't really believe that with this. I think it's cool. Basin and Brandon will probably understand this, but this is probably the closest thing that we're getting to a theatrically released Halo movie in terms of just the Space Ranger and kind of the creatures. But yeah, I think you had a really good opportunity with this, and it fell flat.
Yeah, I'm not big on this one. I'm okay. It's been a year. Spoilers for Lightyear to everyone involved.
Yes.
I really hate what they did with Zurg. So much.
Yes.
I'm sorry. What was wrong with Zurg? Zurg was a fun villain. You did not need to make him future Buzz. A, that doesn't make sense, but B, more importantly, you just don't need to touch Zurg. He was fine as is. If it was just plain old Zurg, nobody would have had a problem with it. So I don't know why you needed to mess with it. Overall, I just think the movie's really convoluted and doesn't have a whole lot going on. Like Brooklyn said, Socks is the only thing that I would ever think of coming back to for this movie. Payson, thoughts?
Yeah, this is one that I don't dislike as much as some people do, but I don't love it. I think it's a good movie overall, but I think Pixar has kind of spoiled us. Where good often comes off as just disappointing, which I totally get. If I'm being honest, like both said, the only thing I really do hate was what they did with Zurg was stupid. It just felt so it just felt so eye-rolly, where it's why are we adding a twist like this into Lightyear? This is just so dumb. And not only is it dumb, it feels like the first thing that they would have thought of. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a nice, decent adventure. I love Socks. We stand Stocks. But yeah, fine movie. It's insane that after 4 Pixar movies they released directly on streaming, or 3 maybe, this is the one they decide to come back to theaters with. I think that's kind of crazy.
Because it's an IP, that's why.
Yeah, good point.
Let's go to Jack.
I still haven't seen it. I've had essentially the entire movie spoiled for me.
By me?
No.
Okay.
Not by you. Just over the course of the year, Cameron Holzman especially said, Jack, I'm going to tell you this one thing. They fucked up the one thing we knew about Zurg. How do they do that?
Don't you play Fandom?
Pardon?
Don't you play Fandom?
Yeah, but there's like a handful of movies I still have to see. I just haven't gotten around to it. Yeah, I'll get around to it eventually, just not yet.
That is fair. And Brandon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not yet. So I agree with you completely, Boatman, about the ending. That left a bad taste in my mouth. I always thought that oh, I'm your father from Toy Story 2 was just like a throwaway gag from Star Wars. I didn't think it was serious, And then I thought to myself, I'm like, oh, are they going to introduce Zurg and make him his father? Really? No, it was an older Buzz. I think Zurg should have been saved for the sequel, but I think maybe they thought they're like, maybe we're not going to be able to do a sequel. I know they have like after credit scenes, I think, but there's a lot wrong with this movie, and I was very disappointed. I agree with Payson. They should have done one of their other Pixar films to go back to theaters with. But like you said, they chose the IP, and it backfired horribly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, now it's over to me, I believe. And I don't have anything really bad that I watched this week. So I'm just going to go one that I'm going to cheat a little bit, but it's my show, so I can do what I want. And I'm going with one that wasn't like spectacular or anything, but just an odd little movie that I want to talk about. It's called The Atomic Cafe, and it's from 1982. And what essentially the movie is, it's just a collection. It's a documentary, and it's just a collection of American propaganda from the 1940s and 1950s during the start of the Cold War. And it's presented in a way that you're supposed to laugh at how ridiculous it is, and it's ridiculous. And the film does its job. It's not very substantial, but it is pretty funny how ridiculous some of these things, some of the paranoia gets, and like they're telling school children, oh, if an atomic bomb gets dropped, all you gotta do is just in the middle of the street, you just duck and cover, and you'll be okay. It's very silly in that regard, because a lot of it is basically just trying to get Americans to be cool with them testing nuclear bombs. So it's very ridiculous. But if you're looking for something, this is free on Tubi. I'd say it's worth your time. Yeah. Brooklyn?
Yeah, as a Canadian, I always like looking down at the American dumpster fire at times. So yeah.
All right. Has anyone? I'm gonna guess nobody's actually seen this, right?
Never seen it.
Heard of it.
No. Yeah. What?
This sounds like something the Rift Tracks guys would like. This seems like primed for that.
I mean, it's a weird thing where the movie itself knows that the stuff is ridiculous, so it's kind of like
it's not taking itself too seriously.
Like no, the movie's meant to be like a comedy. Weirdly, like it's not like it's not like pro these things. It's like anti. The propaganda. Okay. It's basically the movie itself is presented in a way where you're supposed to be laughing at how ridiculous the stuff is. So it's kind of like,
gotcha.
Yeah. But I guess you could still riff track off of it because the stuff presented is ridiculous. It's an odd duck, which is why I wanted to bring it up. Jack?
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
And Brandon? No. Nobody's seen it. We'll move forward. But Jack, that's why I said Jack. I was going to you for your
for your pick.
My bad. I'm a little brain.
You're good.
Anyway, what was I gonna say? Right, yeah. I didn't have anything truly terrible I saw this week up until this afternoon. Earlier today, I watched The First Flight with Chance Meatballs, and that movie's fucking delightful. I really enjoy that movie. You know what movie I hate? Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2. This movie is utter garbage. I'm sorry. I don't know. I looked it up, and apparently Lord and Miller did write for this one, too. You wouldn't be able to tell. There's clever jokes from the first one and are entirely replaced with food puns, and I'm already not a fan of puns. When this movie came out, I was 12 years old. I saw it in the theater with my entire family, and I thought the twist then was ridiculously stupid, and it's just as bad now. where Live Corp is Evil Corp. Just the most. If a 12-year-old thinks that that's just a ridiculous twist, then you failed. I'm sorry. No, I hate this movie so much. I hadn't seen it since theaters, and I honestly regret my time. It's only 95 minutes, but it's a waste of 95 minutes.
Fair. I've actually never seen this one. I remember I was like, I loved the first one, and I like saw the trailer, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Bro, has anybody else seen this one?
Yeah.
Oh, Brandon. Okay,
I have.
go ahead, Brandon.
I have no. There's not much to say other than what Jack said. The everything special about the first movie is just gone and wasted and thrown into a blender and destroyed. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Okay. One thing. This movie picks up immediately where the last movie ends, and so then immediately Flint and Sam are like, "Oh, we're gonna like build a lab together and do cool science shit together." And then the main villain shows up. He's revealed to be the main villain like 10 minutes later, so it's not even a spoiler. Main villain shows up and is like, "Hey, you want to come work for me?" And Sam's like, "Yeah, you should go do that." The main villain is someone that Flint has idolized since he's a child. And he's like, "But what about our dream?" And I'm sitting here like, "You mean the dream that you just came up with 10 seconds ago? Fuck off." I'm done. I hate it.
I did laugh at one joke in that movie, and that was when he sucked his tear back into his eye. That was the only time I laughed.
That's fine. Terry Crews.
That was the only time I laughed. Terry Crews is great.
Crews innocent. No mistake.
Oh, did Terry Crews replace Mr. T?
Yes.
Oh, fair. Anyway, Brandon, take us home. What's your least favorite movie you logged this week?
Least favorite movie I logged this week was Shazam: Fury of the Gods. Yeah. That movie was all over the place. And I do feel that it was very messy. And I do feel it's because there's so many moving parts going on in the DC universe behind the scenes that they just dropped this one in. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that.
That is fair. Well, I have not seen Brooklyn. Have you seen it?
I have not.
Jason?
I did. I talked about it a few weeks ago, and I enjoyed this movie. It's nothing compared to the original, but I did still walk away with some form of enjoyment. I'll be honest, it does feel like a lame duck movie where it feels like it's setting up certain things that you know are not going to get paid off. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't have fun while watching the movie.
That's fair. Jack.
I haven't seen it. I'm just going to wait until it's
Fair
on
enough.
streaming.
Valid.
And available.
Well, now we get into the meat and potatoes, and which is our action heroes. Payson, kick us off.
I think, to kick us off, I think I'm going to go with The Bride from Kill Bill. Specifically, I'm going to go with Kill Bill Volume 1. Not just because I prefer Volume 1, but that's the one that you can clearly say is an action movie, where I feel like calling Volume 2 an action movie. You're stretching it out a little bit, but yeah, no. The Bride in Kill Bill Volume 1 is excellent. It's one of the best, revenge stories ever of just having your husband killed on your wedding day, you're shot on your wedding day, you go with her from the hospital, and then she's just on a warpath to say, I'm going to take out the 4 people that were in charge of this, and I'm going to take out the person that ordered them. I think both these movies have a really cool video game-esque storytelling style where you go from each person to each person and slowly start to take them out. I think Uma Thurman is incredible in these movies. Her fight with Lucy Liu at the end against Oren Ishii, I think is still one of the best, maybe one of my favorite Tarantino scenes ever. That opening scene against Vernetta Green is awesome. Yeah, I just think The Bride, very simple motives. She just wants to kill the people that wronged her, and then as Volume 2, she wants to get her kid back. But yeah, she wants to kill Bill, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Now, talk about a character who is just so resilient. You know, even from just I will always have that image stuck in my brain of her just trying to move that toe.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, like, and just like this is the kill. I want to rewatch the Kill Bill movies because it's been a minute, and yeah, Uma Thurman is so good in this, and yeah, great, fantastic action protagonist. Brooklyn.
I have not gotten around to these ones yet.
Fair, Jack.
These were some of the last Tarantino movies I saw, and they're fantastic. Uma Thurman is great as the bride. She was on my short list of names to bring up for this. So yeah, great pick, Payson.
That is fair. And Brandon?
I 100% agree with Jack. Great pick, Payson. She's insane. She has a vendetta. She's got the moves, and she's probably, I don't know if this is a weird thing, but she reminds me of a female version of John Wick. She's committed. She's, she has the willpower. She's fierce. She's just on it, on a mission, just getting it done, Tarantino style.
Fair. Yeah. So that's a great first pick. Brooklyn, over to you.
If we're talking about action heroes, I believe there's one actor in particular that we need to have in this conversation, and that is one Tom Cruise. And in terms of action heroes, a great asset to have is plot armor, and he has the best plot armor when he is Pete Mitchell, aka Maverick, in the Top Gun series. Top Gun Maverick in particular spends an entire movie talking about how these foreign, like this foreign countries, like this generation of warfighters are gonna take you down if you go in a line. But then he crashes, and then he's just there, and they try to shoot at him, but he misses because he's just great. Aside from the campy kind of plot hole stuff, I think he shows a really good sense of like focus, given the tense kind of situations that you're in dogfighting. On top of this big mental warfare, you're facing these incredible G-forces. So it's a physical strain on you nonetheless. So I think it's just an enduring character to have, and I think it's a character that's like you think about how the first Top Gun is, and then you have, I think it's Norman Powell, I believe. No, Glenn Powell. Sorry, Glenn Powell is basically playing like a clone of Pete Mitchell. Like that's how kind of like that's how long the character is kind of held on. But yeah, I think this is almost a mandatory pick.
If only the first movie existed, I would maybe question this pick. I think that Maverick really expands upon this character to the point where I think he's interesting. And I think viewing him as this kind of, the last gunfighter in that sense, except it's fighter pilot, the kind of the last person with his philosophy, I think is really interesting. Of dying breed. And I think that's a neat angle to take it. And yeah, I think the main reason why Maverick is so much better is because they actually make the main character interesting instead of just a bunch of cool cliches. Jason?
No, yeah, I think Pete Mitchell is a really fun pick. Yeah, I think he is given even more to do in Top Gun Maverick, where I really think it really dissects the fact that he's been in the same place and doesn't really want to evolve as a person. And I think it really wrestles with that. I think, yeah, honestly, of all the cool action stuff he does, I don't think anything beats him as a 60-year-old man sneaking out of the woman he just banged out of her window like a high schooler whose dad is walking up the front stairs. But yeah, I think this is a really fun pick.
Yeah, Jack?
This is a great. This is a solid pick. I knew Tom Cruise was going to show up on this list sooner or later. I have a couple of his roles on my short list, but I'm glad you went with this one because it wasn't on my list.
Brand?
yeah, like everybody said, we didn't get a lot of character development with him from the first movie, but they really did dig deep in Top Gun Maverick and showed you really what kind of a character he really is, and he is a great hero. I'm sorry. Brooklyn said it first, like he's got insane plot armor, which he does, but it doesn't make him any less of a hero.
That's fair. Now it's over to me for my first pick, and I am going to go with. I need to look up his name. I know it's a bad sign that I can't do the character's name, but look. Okay, to spoil the pick a little bit, they say the name in Chinese, so I don't remember the name. It's Jackie Chan's character from Police Story, and I think Police Story movies. Okay, yeah, because he has two names. He has a name in the English version and a name in the Chinese version.
So what's the name you gonna do, Boatman?
But in both, they call him Chan. So we're just going to call him Chan from the Police Story movie.
All right, sounds good.
I've only seen the first two Police Stories, so I can't speak to the rest of the franchise. But man, both those movies are great. But B, Jackie Chan just plays a likable character. I think the most important thing to making this character work and making Jackie Chan movies in general work is that Jackie Chan is willing to let his characters be kind of dorks. Like the characters in this, he's a loser. Like he's a cop and he's great at what he does. But in terms of like personality, he's a total dork. Like just an absolute like way too excitable nerd. And it's super fun to see that character get so like badass. Like there's a scene in the first one where like the first one basically opens with Jackie Chan hanging on the side of a bus with an umbrella. That's how we start off, and we only get more insane from there. I love this character. Has anyone seen the Police Story movie?
I have not. I've heard of them.
I highly recommend. I haven't seen the third one yet, but I know Michelle Yeoh is in that one, and I'm excited to watch it.
Ooh, okay. I'm excited.
Nice.
Apparently, that is basically Jackie Chan and Michelle Yeoh having like their own little rivalry over who can do cooler stunts the whole time, and I'm excited to watch that. Jack, what's your first pick for action protagonists?
Before I get to my first pick, I'm just gonna address the fact that you picked the Jackie Chan character, but you didn't pick Bob Ho from The Spy Next Door. I'm a little disappointed.
You shouldn't be.
Wow.
I made the correct decision.
You did make the correct pick. I just forgot about that movie until you said Jackie Chan. Anyway, my pick. I rewatched the first one. I'm gonna go with the first movie for this. I think I'm going with The Bourne Identity, Jason Bourne. I think he's one of he's definitely one of my favorite action heroes in terms of like the whole the spy genre. I think he's a really compelling character. I think Damon gives a hell of a performance as the character in all three of the movies that he appeared in. There wasn't a fourth one. I'm like 95% sure. Especially in this one, this is probably his best performance in the franchise. I love it. I honestly want to revisit this movie like tonight.
Which movie did you pick?
I went with The Bourne Identity.
So Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
I knew it was all the okay. I know that Tim needs a movie to write when he does the logged it list later. I didn't know which movie you were choosing. But I love the Bourne movies. It's a really interesting character of someone who is kind of this killing machine who doesn't know why he's a killing machine. And I think that's fascinating. The stunts are great. Yeah, great character, great pick. Brandon?
Oh wait, are we asking if I've seen Jason Bourne?
Well, I know. I assume you've seen it.
Yes,
I'm just asking for thoughts.
No, the Bourne movies are really great. I thought it went off the rails after the fourth Jason Bourne, not the Runner one, but the one after that. Especially when he like crashed his car into like Las Vegas hotel. But we're talking about the first one, right? Sorry, first one, reeling back.
Oh, you can talk. He's picking the whole character, so you can talk about it.
The first one is probably my favorite one of the Bourne movies, to be honest. That's where it all started. I'm a sucker for origin stories. I love to see how things started out, and Matt Damon has done very, very well for himself with this franchise. I think he got a little shaky cam there. I think either the first or second one for a little bit, and that kind of jarred me a little bit. But they're solid action scenes, and he's a good action hero. I agree.
That's fair. Payson?
Yeah, I think this is a really good pick. I think it was kind of like a star-making, or not necessarily a star-making role for Matt Damon, but just showed a new layer of what he can do. Like, I don't think anyone would have suggested that, like, Will Hunting or Mr. Ripley could have done, like, these insane sense of action, but Doug Liman got it out of him. I think the whole character's arc throughout the first three movies is really interesting. Yeah, great pick.
Brooklyn?
So I had seen these movies. I totally agree with Brandon that the second movie is all the fucking shit he can. These movies aren't for me because I feel like the whole concept of him not knowing what he's doing, but like you kind of learn about it as the movie goes on. It's just a really tough line to balance, and it doesn't necessarily attach with me the entire time.
That is fair. Now we go over to Brandon. Brandon, what's your first pick?
Oh gosh, I thought long and hard about this. I honestly went between two Johns as my first pick. We already talked about one of them earlier in the show, so I'm going to go with the other one, John McClane.
Also could have brought up John Rambo.
John Rambo. There you go. There's third John. There you go. But the two in my head were
John
Wick or John McClane.
John Spartan from Demolition Man.
Yes, there are so many Johns. Anyways, Bruce Willis's portrayal as John McClane, more specifically in the first Die Hard, is spot on. Absolutely awesome. He's an everyman. Yes, he's a cop, but he's an everyman. He makes mistakes just like everybody else. He's in the wrong situation, the wrong time. He's going to see his estranged wife and his kids for the family. Just happens to be upstairs with some terrorists come and want their detonators. But he is really good at using anything he can around him to his benefit, kind of like MacGyver. Like that scene where he uses the gun as like a kind of like a rappling rope to the elevator shaft. Who would think of that? Seriously. Like, I don't know. I love how relatable John McClane is, and I love how resourceful he is, and he's just a badass.
You basically summed it up. Like, yeah, I think like the interesting thing, especially when it comes to the first one, because the later movies make him a little too much of a super cop, but the first one, he just feels like such a normal guy who's just
absolutely.
And it's like the realism is what makes that first movie so good, I feel like. And what a great, and like he feels vulnerable. Like you feel
the
like
glass at his feet and stuff. He's bleeding everywhere.
They put him at such a disadvantage, but he's not just shooting his way out of it. He's thinking his way out of it. And great character. Brooklyn?
I almost refuse to watch these movies because of the whole "is this a Christmas movie or not" argument. So it just kind of mentally wore me out. But I'll watch them someday.
Valid. I mean, I have the take of, if you think it's a Christmas movie, congratulations, it is. If you don't, congratulations, it isn't. Now we'll move on with your life. Payson?
Yeah, my absolute favorite moment with this character in this movie that I don't think is talked about enough is where he calls the emergency police line that only like police officers have access to. The person on the other line picks up and is like, "Excuse me, sir, line is only meant to be for emergencies. Please don't call this." And John, all you hear is on the phone is like, "No shit, this is only for emergencies. You think I'm trying to order a pizza here?" And he's just so mad with the attitude this woman gave him. But no, yeah, John McClane is such a great character, especially in that first one. Like, he has moments where, like, from the first moment you get that he's vulnerable and he's not, like, just this insane superhero with, like, the fact that he doesn't go out and save the CEO of the Nakatomi Plaza. And he's like, "Why didn't you save him, John? Why didn't you save him?" And just how he meticulously, like, keeps Hans at all times at, like, at odds. And yeah, maybe the most relatable moment of all time where, like, he's gone through hell, his life is on the line, and he still has the energy to correct the main villain for getting a fact about a movie wrong at the end. It's good.
Jack?
I hadn't seen this movie until the end of last year, and it was a blast. John McClane is a great pick. He was on my board. Yeah, you basically said everything. He's the perfect everyman.
Yeah. So now we go back over to Payson. What's your first pick?
Yeah, Bo, you tackled earlier the ultimate like loser, like the archetype of like the loser action hero. Earlier with Jackie Chan and Police Story. I'm going with my favorite version of that one that I just watched recently. Hey, Mike, have you paid your dues? Yes, sir. The check is in the mail. Jack Burton from Big Trouble in Little China. This is a movie that I watched like a few weeks ago. Finally on my cameras, like I watched it for him, and it's so like tailor-made for me. And I think like 75% of why this movie works is because Kurt Russell is so perfect as Jack Burton, who is just like such like an idiot like truck driver, and like anyone who watches the movie can totally see he's not in any way the hero of the movie, because like here's a dynamic. I will say this, and I haven't had a chance to tell Boatman this. Boatman, you are the Wing Chi to my Jack Burton. Like, Jack Burton is like the loud guy who's just like who's taking weird attention, but like Wing Chi is the one doing all the action and is actually way like more suitable to do all this. Like, I just love the scenes where like Jack will like pull out his knife, he tosses it across the room, and spends an entire action scene going to go and get his knife, while Wing Chi is just taking out everyone. The final action scene, he knocks himself out for half of it, and then weirdly just kills the main villain because he's lucky. Jack Burton is incredible. He has a simple mindset. He's just in this really, not even for Kim Cattrall, like that's a bonus, but he just wants to get his truck back. Like, Jack Burton is awesome. Kurt Russell is awesome. This movie is incredible.
Yeah, no, yeah, you're making me want. That's the thing about all these picks. They're making me want to rewatch the movies for top. Yeah, no, Jack Burton, you're right. He really doesn't do all that much.
He doesn't.
And that's kind of what makes him awesome. One of the ultimate loser action characters. Kurt Russell's so good in this. Yeah, no, what more can I say? Brooklyn, have you seen this? No, fair enough. Jack, have you seen this?
I have, but it's been a long time. I want to rewatch it, but it's got some great lines. Kurt Russell's so good in this movie. I love it.
Valid. Brandon?
Funnily enough, first time I watched this movie was a couple of years ago. I had read some questions for it, and I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I'm like, this is John Carpenter? All right, let's go. I had a lot of fun with that movie.
That is fair. Now we go to, that's Payson's pick. We go to Brooklyn.
All right. So if you're familiar with my taste in movies, I like me some parody and spoof, or like these movies that are kind of like aware of the character that they're building. But I'm gonna go with Brad Pitt as Ladybug in Bullet Train. I think this is just a really cool character in terms of like everything that had been happening before, of like these, like the big trend of like action heroes coming out of retirement to have one last mission. But I think this is the most accurate way of how that how that person would actually talk, where it's like, yes, okay, you've retired, so you've obviously went through a fuck ton of shit. Like, let's get you into therapy. And he's basically like giving a therapy session whenever he's fighting somebody. He's like, hey, you just need to balance this out and get with that. And just like, obviously with that angle of the character, and like whenever he's fighting everybody, obviously like things just kind of go his way, because like that, obviously that's an action movie, and he's just kind of like flabbergasted by it all, just of like how well things are going, considering how like all his missions past had something kind of fuck up on him. I just think it's a really cool character, obviously coming from like the Deadpool style of humor. I think that's a nice kind of transition into this, but yeah, I think it's just it's a cool character.
Yeah, no. I love this character. This feels pretty closely to if I were a hitman, what I would be like. But no, I love the concept of this action character who is just A, so anxious, and B, just does not want to be doing any of the things he is doing. I think that's a really clever twist on an action character, and I think it's part of the reason why the movie works. I'm Team Bullet Train is great. I really liked it, and I usually don't love those types of action movies, so I dug it. Payson?
Yeah, I really enjoyed Bullet Train. I think Brad Pitt is so much fun in this movie. Great example of like a wrong place, wrong time person, like had no business being part of this mission and just is part of it for like the dumbest reasons, and it's just him trying to get out of it. No, I think Pitt's great. I really enjoy this movie, not like to the level of some people, but like, yeah, I think it's a great movie, and Brad Pitt's great.
Yeah, Jack?
Yeah, this is a great choice. Not one I immediately thought of, so I'm glad it was chosen. But yeah, it's got some really great moments in this. It cracks me up every time when I can't remember who he's talking. I think it's the wolf, where he's just sitting across the table from him. Wolf's dead in the chair, and he goes, "Let this be a lesson in the destructiveness of anger," or something like that. I love Brad Pitt so much in this movie. There's just one scene that I honestly kind of hate. Otherwise, I would be revisiting this movie more.
Valid. And Brandon, are you? Yeah, no, Brandon, you hadn't talked about this yet. Go ahead.
No, I haven't. Bullet Train definitely surprised me. To be honest, when I watched it, Ladybug was. He's just so damn cool. You know, he's been put through the ringer. He doesn't want to do this mission. Like Payson said, wrong place, wrong time. He's just there, and I love how he just deals with it. Actually, my favorite fight scene is probably where it's him versus Zazie. I think Zazie Beetz. I think it's the actress, the girl who had the venom. Them going back and forth with the venom and stuff like that was a lot of fun for me, and the whole movie was a blast. But Brad Pitt, yeah, he was all right in there.
Yeah, now we go over to me. And I want to get one of the two big ones out of the way, and I'm going back and forth between one that would make my manager happy, or former manager, or person, it would make a person happy, versus one that I just think should be on there. Yeah, I gotta give it to Dr. Jones, Indiana Jones. Come on,
I was waiting for someone to do that.
I think that he has to be on here. I think the thing that makes Indiana Jones so awesome is that he's a little bit of a nerd. Like he's a nerd, but he's a nerd who doesn't act like one. And I think that, but like he gets all up in these artifacts and all these other things. And I think that's the thing. He's a very capable guy. He's got the intelligence down, the puzzle solving down, as well as just the whip skills and the action stuff. I think that, yeah, I'm going with Last Crusade. Though really, you could go with the whole franchise, well, the whole trilogy. But I think that Last Crusade, I think having him play off of the other characters makes him even more interesting. Brooklyn?
Yeah, I did consider Indiana Jones for my short list, but ultimately I picked the other ones. I have not seen Last Crusade. I saw the first one, and then I saw Temple of Doom, and Temple of Doom kind of soured me. And I was like, I'm not as big of a rush to see this one. But yeah, a great choice.
Payson?
Yeah, just iconic performance. Like, it deserves to be on this list. One of the great movie characters of all time. I think in this movie, I think the way he interacts with his dad, the relationship he has with his dad is great. I love how, like, when he's in these action scenes, how tired he feels. So you know that, like, he feels vulnerable. Yeah, great pick.
Jack?
Yeah, this was on my list as well. This is a fantastic pick. I would also go with Last Crusade. It's my personal favorite of the trilogy, and I think it's Ford's best performance as the character. Plus, you get some really great moments between him and Dr. Jones Sr., which is awesome in this movie. Yeah, there's some really great moments, and it's one of the all-time greatest characters. Also, No Ticket cracks me up every time.
That's fair. Brandon?
No, I absolutely love this movie. This is my favorite of the three of them. And Boatman, like you said, he's very much a nerd. He's a college professor who gets excited about hunting artifacts. And there's just something so pure about that. You know, he knows his stuff, like you said, but he's also knows his stuff. And I'm really looking forward to see how the next installment's going to be.
Yeah. Now we go over to Jack. Jack, what's your second pick?
All right, I was getting a little nervous when you were picking Jackie Chan from Police Story, but because I have a character who's from he's the title character. His name is Sanjuro. I can't remember his last name, but I really like this. I will be going with Sanjuro because that is more of an action film than Yojimbo, I think. If I had to choose, or if I had to pick between, if I had to call one an action film, I'd call it Sanjuro an action film. And he seems more like an action hero, whereas in Yojimbo, he like you had said to me earlier after you saw both of them, he doesn't feel like the same character, and I get that. So, and I feel like he's more of the action hero in Sanjuro. There's some great moments in that movie, some incredible duels. He just stumbles upon these what are they, 12 samurai who are trying to rescue their master, and then is just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll help with this. And he kind of inserts himself into a situation, and it works out really well. And there's some great action set pieces. That final duel, as short as it is iconic for a very good reason. Incredible film and incredible performance from Toshiro Mifune.
Yeah. It's a weird thing. I do really like this character. I like him more in Yojimbo than I do in Sanjuro, because I feel like you say, in Sanjuro, he's more of a hero. He's less complicated. Where in Yojimbo, he's more of an anti-hero. So it's kind of weird to judge. I almost want to watch Sanjuro on its own, separated from Yojimbo, because I watched them back to back when I first watched Sanjuro. So this is still a neat pick. I like this pick. Has anyone else seen Sanjuro?
Unfortunately not.
Fair enough. Well, then, Brandon, we will move on to you. What's your second pick?
I forgot I got two picks. I'm going to go with the other John then.
That's fair.
John Wick. John mother freaking Wick, the Baba Yaga himself. You know, when I first saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, okay, Keanu's trying again. Whoop-de-doo. I was blown away. Completely blown away. If you know the phrase, actions speak louder than words, that rings true with this character because he probably only says about 10 lines in every movie. His actions show what he means. The whole premise of him being, you know, an ex-assassin, getting out for love, his wife passing away, and the phrase "actions have consequences" have never been truer because as the movie starts and as the series goes on, yes, he's getting his revenge for certain things that happened, but it all comes tenfold. You know, his character is pretty much unstoppable. But he also feels very grounded, especially in the first couple movies. And I just love the mixture of kung fu, like the martial arts and the guns, and it's just so much fun. If you would have told me this would have been my favorite action hero of the last 20 years, I would have thought you were crazy before I watched this first movie. But I'm here.
That's fair. Yeah, no, I just recently kind of binged through the John Wick movies. Because I'd seen the first one, but I'd never seen the sequels. And yeah, this character is great. And I think like the thing that makes this character so great is that they already kind of imbue him with this reputation, right? And that he's kind of this sleeping giant who has been woken up. And I think that's an interesting thing to take. And I think they build him up as this killing machine, which he is. But then you get those moments of humanity from him, where, and Chapter 4 kind of plays around with this idea, and a lot of the films do, play around with this idea of there's two people, right? There's John the husband, and there's John Wick, you know, the Baba Yaga. And I think that dichotomy is kind of the main focal point of the franchise, and I think it's really interesting. A lot of good drama from that. Brooklyn?
I'm ashamed to say that I have not watched any of these. But yeah, I've been told recently that we need to watch them in anticipation to John Wick 4. So
check them out, buddy.
That's fair. Jack?
Yeah, this was absolutely on my list. I just watched 2 and 3 last night and this morning in preparation for watching the 4th one tomorrow. It's an incredible character. I personally love the fact that Keanu Reeves doesn't get as many lines as he would in as many lines as he normally would. I think this is a great, like, silent but deadly character. I think he's incredibly resourceful in every single scene. The scene in the second one at the museum when he immediately spends his 7 bullets and then picks up someone's gun and starts shooting again, and just keeps picking up people's guns and using them to his own advantage. Or in the third one when he's in the knife shop, when he just uses everything around him to kill like half a dozen people that are trying to kill him. It's a phenomenal character, great action, great choreography, and an incredible performance from Reeves. One of his best.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I think that wraps us up for action heroes. To recap, picks were The Bride, Pete Mitchell, Chan from Police Story, Jason Bourne, John McClane, Jack Burton, Ladybug, Indiana Jones, Ventura, and John Wick. That's a
heck of a list.
Yeah, heck of a list. So I think the only thing we have left to talk about is the movie of the month. But honestly, like, since I know that Jack and Brooklyn didn't get a chance to watch it, and Brandon, you didn't watch it for this, I think if everybody's cool with it, we'll probably just go home early. So thank you to Brooklyn, thank you to Jack, thank you to Brandon, thank you everyone at home for watching. This has been Multiplex Logged It. We will see you later.
In case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening,